Good Tuesday morning and welcome to Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul.
At least 10 confirmed dead and over 100 injured after the roof of an auditorium filled with university students attending an orientation collapses at a resort in the historic city of Seongdong-gu.
With the Sochi Winter Games in full swing, we'll delve into the hidden science behind the Winter Games.
And the courts hand left-leaning lawmaker Lee Seok-gi with a guilty verdict in the nation's first sedition trial in more than 3 decades. That story coming up.
The bomb explosion in Egypt that killed 4 people on a bus headed to Israel. An Egyptian militant group claims responsibility for the attack. We'll talk to an expert for more insight. Then we'll talk about paraben, which is commonly found in cosmetics, lotion, and even in your toothpaste. The substance is stirring up concerns as a potential health risk factor. We'll learn more about it on this Tuesday, February 18th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today.
Thank you for tuning in. Let's begin with our top story. What started out as a freshman orientation has turned into a nightmare at an auditorium down in the city of Seongdong-gu. We'll connect live to our reporter Shin Se-min, who is standing by on the phone with the latest. Good morning, Se-min. What can you tell us?
Yes, this is what we have so far. More than 500 freshman students from Busan University of Foreign Studies were having their orientation in an auditorium at the Mauna Ocean Resort in Seongju when it collapsed at around 9 p.m. Monday night Korea time. At least 10 people have been confirmed dead and 17 others have been seriously injured. And up to a dozen more are believed to be still trapped under the debris, and hundreds of fire and police officials are at the scene trying to get them out safely. About 80 people are receiving hospital treatment for minor injuries in the nearby city of Ulsan. And there is a speculation that the heavy snowfall may have caused the roof to cave in, but police say they'll launch an investigation after rescue operations have been completed. Guys?
Thank you, Se-min. And Arirang News will keep you updated throughout the day on the latest on that accident in Seongju. Now, in the rest of the day's news, leftist lawmaker Lee Seok-gi of the minor United Progressive Party has been sentenced to 12 years behind bars for plotting an armed rebellion against the South Korean government. Handing down its ruling Monday, the Suwon District Court said Lee violated the country's national security law by leading a shadowy pro-North Korea group called the Revolutionary Organization. Pro-North Korea documents had also been found in Lee's possession, and there was evidence he sang North Korean songs, both of which are prohibited under national security law. Other members of the UPP on trial for similar charges were sentenced to between 4 and 7 years in prison. He continues to plead his innocence, is expected to appeal the ruling. And in an unprecedented public rebuke and warning to a ruling head of state, the United Nations Commission of Inquiry on North Korean Human Rights has concluded that North Koreans have been victims of crimes against humanity and suffered unspeakable atrocities. The long-awaited report released Monday by the panel led by Michael Kirby was a result of evidence gathered for almost a year, including testimony at public hearings worldwide, and said there was evidence of torture, executions, arbitrary imprisonment, deliberate starvation, and lack of rights and freedom. Kirby personally wrote to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to warn that he could face trial at the International Criminal Court for his personal responsibility as head of state and leader of the military.
And on a lighter note, the number of Koreans who exercise regularly has jumped by 1 million in the months of November and December of last year from the same period in 2012. A survey conducted by the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism on some 9,000 Koreans aged 10 and above showed that more than 45% of the respondents worked out at least once a week. When asked about their monthly workouts, 4 out of 10 said they didn't exercise even once. The number of women who worked out on a regular basis rose more significantly than that of men. The results also indicate the average amount of money Koreans spent on sports activities stood at 610,000 won. That's about $580 annually, amounting to 12 trillion won, or about $11.3 billion.
And good morning, everyone. By and large, the top news on the papers this morning is that structural collapse at a resort in the southeastern city of Gyeongju that still at this hour has emergency crews trying to rescue college freshmen trapped inside. Go ahead and take a look at the story on the front page of Gyeongyang Shinmun, which has one such student waiting for rescue under the rubble there. Reflecting figures the paper had at print deadline, the headline reads, "Auditorium collapses on freshman orientation. At least 6 killed, 30 trapped." And those figures, as you heard earlier, have since been updated to at least 10 killed and nearly a dozen still trapped. Now, the included picture is an outside shot of the 2-story building at Mauna Ocean Resort that appears to have collapsed on the weight of mounting snow in the region. The article cites the student at the scene saying that the group was enjoying a performance when the building collapsed and the roof caved in completely in less than 10 seconds. And certainly our hearts do go out to the students and their families and hope for a speedy and thorough conclusion to the recovery efforts there. Now, 중앙일보 also treats the story as its top, as does 동아일보, as you can see here. It also treats highly the landmark ruling on the rare sedition trial involving United Progressive Party lawmaker Lee Seok-gi, as you see there. The headline reads, "Lee Seok-gi gets 12 years for conspiring a rebellion," and the subheadlines add that the 6 tried with him were also handed jail sentences ranging from 4 to 7 years. Those are some of the points that he was found guilty of, already covered in our headlines. Let's go ahead and take a look at the front page of 조선일보, which treats as its top the aforementioned 2 stories. Let's go ahead and take a look at the story under them as it takes us to Egypt. And the headline reads, "If it weren't for him, all 30 could have died." And pictured is 56-year-old Choi Jin-soo, the Korean tour guide tasked with hosting that church group that was on a pilgrimage in Sinai and fell victim to the region's first attack against tourists in nearly a decade. The article reports Jae had pushed out a suspicious young man who tried to board the bus moments before the would-be assailant presumably detonated a bomb, rupturing the bus and killing the tour guide, the bus driver, and 2 others seated toward the front of that bus. The paper saying the death toll could have been much worse if not for this man's quick thinking and sacrifice. And finally, let's wrap with a look at our business daily for today. A Made Business newspaper also treats highly the resort collapse. We'll go ahead and take a quick look at this headline, which reads, 55% of listed firms see their shares fall from 7 years ago. And in continuation of its series on upgrading Korea's stock market, the Business Daily reports that despite a higher overall closing last Friday vis-a-vis at the end of 2007, more than half of the country's listed companies saw their stock values fall, suggesting a tougher business climate for SMEs as well as several large companies outside of the familiar conglomerate brand names. In contrast to 75% and 57% of U.S. and Taiwanese companies, respectively, that saw their stock values actually gain. Only 45% of Korean companies did so. And with that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Tuesday. U.S. markets were closed on Monday on a holiday. Here comes the rest of your closing numbers from Monday's market action.
In Egypt's northeastern area of Sinai, a bomb tore through a bus carrying Korean tourists on Sunday at approximately 2:40 p.m. local time. The explosion killed 4 people, 3 Koreans and a local driver. The bombing ripped through a tour bus that had 31 members from the Jincheon Central Church from Korea on board, who were on a pilgrimage. The attack occurred near Egypt's border with Israel in the town of Taba. The following day, the militant group Ansar Beit al-Maqdis is said to have claimed responsibility for the attack, warning that this will not be the last. Korea's foreign ministry denounced the attack, saying it is shocked and outraged, and dispatched an emergency team to the site while issuing a travel alert in the area. We'll take a look at how this fatal attack came about and what measures the Korean government will take.
And joining us this morning is Dr. Seong-il from the Center for Middle Eastern Studies at Konkuk University. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
It's quite unfortunate what happened. It seems like Sinai has been at the center of violence these days, especially since the ouster of Mohamed Morsi, the country's first freely elected president. Now, tell us more about the region first to begin with.
Yeah, Sinai Peninsula is a really big, huge area, 61,000 square kilometers. It's 6 times bigger than Israel, the territory of Israel. I can compare it to Gyeongsang-bukdo. Yeah, 6 times bigger than Gyeongsang-bukdo.
Quite sizable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're living 300,000 Bedouin, local Bedouins, natives living there. Some of them are really joined with these terrorist organizations. So 2012, there are 3, I think, Koreans kidnapped by local native, Bedouins, but they're released after that. This is not terrorist organizations.
Right.
Yeah. And before that, 2004, also in the Sinai Peninsula, the Taba and Nueva area, there was terrorist attack. And 2005, also terrorist attack by other terrorist organizations, not
so
this organization.
So it's safe to say this is an unstable region.
Really unstable. I can say maybe I can use the anarchy. Yeah.
Okay.
Almost anarchy.
So no rule there, it seems like. The Egyptian militant group Ansar Beit al-Maqdis has claimed responsibility for the attack, and they warned of further attacks, saying what's next will be more bitter. Now, what are they after?
I think they will try to attack terrorist attack against the foreign tourists.
Civilians.
Yes,
even.
civilians. This is terrorists. In addition to this, they will also attack, the Egyptian police stations, Egyptian army too. Yeah.
Okay, so are they linked in any way to Al Qaeda? I've read reports that they are somehow related to Al Qaeda.
Yeah, this organization is really extremely conservative, extremely dangerous group. It's more dangerous than Muslim Brothers. Yeah. So it's an extremely, radical organization. They're really connected with Al Qaeda organizations. As you know, the Al Qaeda nowadays is not a physical organization.
Right.
Everywhere we can find Al Qaeda. We can call it Al Qaedism. So any organization claim that we run from this measures, this way to attack from the Al Qaeda. So they claim they are Al Qaedas. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
and media reports seem to indicate that they didn't specifically target Koreans at the time of the attack, though, right? But nonetheless, it seems like this region is a very dangerous region. Do you think the Korean government should beef up its travel ban and restriction on this region, much like it has a travel ban on regions like Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen?
You're right. I think Korean government they did whatever they can do, but it's really hard to force them to not to go.
Right.
Yes, the Korean Christian community, they have the right to go there. So I think the Christian community, they should think twice before they go again or sending so many tourist groups in this area. Maybe another idea I can give you. Just go to 2 countries. Israel,
namely?
Israel, Jordan. Skip
Israel
the
and
Egypt.
Jordan.
Yeah, Israel, Jordan is very. Security is fine there. So
Relatively safer in those regions.
Sure.
Okay.
This is another way. Yeah.
Okay, so exercise caution, especially if you are traveling to a dangerous region, I suppose. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
All right, well, still ahead on Korea today, the Sochi Winter Olympic Games are well underway in Sochi, and as many athletes gear up for what could be the competition of their lives, we look at the science and technology behind their training and even their cutting-edge equipment with an expert. Stay tuned.
And now we're going to get a check on the weather conditions. The Gangwon province, more snow is expected up to 20 centimeters today, and it is supposed to snow until Friday. They can use a little bit less. But as for the temperatures in Seoul and around the country, we'll go to Dami. Dami, good morning.
Hello everyone, today I'm reporting live from Seongdong-gu, Seoul. Now it looks as if the bitter cold afternoons have left us this winter, as the Weather Center is forecasting that we will be seeing these mild conditions throughout this month here in Seoul. This morning right now it is 0.9 degrees Celsius. The mornings and the evenings are still a bit on the chilly side, so do keep that in mind. However, our daytime highs will be rising up to 6 degrees. Now, as for the weather conditions over in the East Coast regions, they're significantly different comparing to here in Seoul. As of right now, currently there are heavy snow alerts being issued in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, also heavy snow watches in Gangwon-do Province and Gyeongsang-pukdo Province. Now, in the Yeongdong areas of Gangwon-do Province, the snow is thinning out and it will come to a stop later in the day. And the Yeongdong areas will be taking a day off from the snow tomorrow. As for Gyeongju, which is in Gyeongsang-pukdo Province, throughout the day there will be signs of either snow or rain, and we will continue until tomorrow morning. Now, there are severe damages being done to the heavy snowfall, so please take caution. One way that you can do this is either double checking your facilities and checking your roofs and make sure that the snow isn't piling up or caving in. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather for today around Korea. Seoul, Daegu, and Busan's highs are at 6, Daejeon and Gwangju at 8, Gangneung the coldest at 1, and Jeju at 9 degrees. Now, the snow that we're receiving is considered to be wet snow, which is known to be denser and 2 to 3 times heavier than regular snow, so it makes it difficult to clean up and can be quite dangerous if piled up. So try to clean the snow in front of your houses as quickly as possible. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
The original musical based on Oscar Wilde's The Selfish Giant, The Lost Garden, just ended its 1-month-long run yesterday. And joining us to talk more about original musicals here in Korea are director So Jun-young as well as Jerome Collette, who played the role of the giant. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Director, so I guess the first question would go straight to you right now. Of course, you have been preparing for this musical for a good 5 years, and this is set more on a European setting now. Most of the original Korean musicals, they happen to settle around Korean themes, right? Tell us a little bit about this musical.
Well, the show is about, when I look back and think about my childhood, and there's always a place or happenings that seem like a very beautiful memories at this point of my life, and then and that recollection of my memories gives me such a warm feeling. So I go back to my house very naturally. I look at my children and say, you know, I want to provide them with the best memories possible, and this is what the show is all about. I want people to come and see the show and hopefully recall some of their fragments of their memories and hopefully good ones, happy ones.
Because everyone has childhood memories that they can go back to and smile, right?
Sure,
And you play the role of the giant, yes, right?
Yeah.
You don't look like a giant, though. How did you
gentle
come
giant,
to be involved in this play,
I can be
in this
tough,
musical?
too. June invited me to be a part of the show, and I was in Korea like 8 years ago now for Notre Dame de Paris, the musical. Actually, I came 2 times, and so I have good memories. And Elisa Petrolo, who is the choreographer of the show, she was on Notre Dame too, and she said, "Oh, there is a Korean director. He wants you to be in the show." So I said, "Okay, let's go."
Okay.
Let's go. So I came like 5 days in November, and so we met together. And actually, I didn't expect that we were connecting so deeply, and we became friends. I'm working for him, but
Still very good friends. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
something.
Now, just for our viewers, maybe you can tell us about the plot and how the giant plays into this whole childhood memory.
Well, Giant. Giant is the one who actually breaks all the beauty of the childhood. You know, he enters the garden and just breaks all the children away, whatever the happiness they have in the garden, inside the garden, and he's just a destroyer. And then he meets this Mercy character, who's supposed to be Jesus Christ in the original novel of Oscar Wilde. And through Mercy, Giant finds peace and how to make peace with the world. And so he changes, and then and during the process of his changing, he realized that part of him has always been there. He's very warm and soft and loving. And that's the story.
So in a sense, the giant discovers himself and a side of him that he
Yes,
didn't
yes.
know. Now, this musical is presented in both English and Korean. Now, what was the motive behind this, and what's your idea for the global stage?
Well, global stage.
I think we want to know the motive of the double language.
Yes. For original Korean-made shows, to be able to be original and keep the stage of being original, to get funded, we have to look for a bigger market, you know, and a bigger market, we can't really go out there with Korean language. So that's the idea of English version of The Lost Garden came in. And I think it's very important for us to look for a bigger market, and because that's how we make our being funded to make a production like this, and that's where the English version came in.
Okay. And I believe you've been in many French musicals as well. How is it different taking part in a Korean produced musical, an original Korean musical too?
There's not so many differences. I mean, it's art, singing, dancing. When I first met June, I told him I saw few pictures of the show. I didn't know exactly. Of course, I read the novel, but I didn't know how he put everything on stage. And I told him what I feel is like poetry. And actually, I feel this on stage. So maybe there is the Asian sweetness, I can say, that I feel really poetic, and yeah, you can see the image, and
We're looking at the footage, right?
Also maybe the dancer, the Asian dancer are very light, you know, the girls. I feel like they are flying on stage. You know, it's very delicate. Maybe less, with less strength, like European. They're maybe more physical.
I see.
And so it gives a
Feeling of the children.
yeah.
So more feminine and delicate,
I think
like you said.
This next question, I think, is for both of you. First, I guess I'll ask Director Seoul on this now. It's headed for the worldwide audience now. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you think it'll be received?
Well, the feeling that you get when you think about the importance of the childhood, I think it's quite universal. And we have started our tour in Shanghai, and we just finished our second venue here in Seoul, close by Seoul area. But every time I do the show, whether it's in Shanghai, Seoul, English version, Korean version, the interesting thing is that I have the similar responses from the people, which I think is the main core of the production. You know, it's the giving people to think about the importance of the childhood and, you know, happy childhood. And I hope, you know, it stays the same wherever we go.
All right. Well, how about from a French perspective? What do you think this musical will
Giants
do?
perspective.
The Giants' perspective to a worldwide audience.
For me, the basic is always emotions. And there is a lot of emotion in the show. So I'm not afraid about going worldwide with the show. Of course, it's a long process, but as soon as you touch hearts, you can go everywhere.
All right, so everywhere we hope to see this on the worldwide stage and report news about the lost garden in the future.
The story of childhood and innocence and coming back to adulthood and forgiving. Everything but good put together, basically.
Exactly. It's a
we're
musical
looking
for all
forward
ages.
to this as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And still ahead on Korea Today, paraben is a preservative that's used in many products. We're talking about lotions, makeup, shampoo, toothpaste, and much more. It keeps it safe from contamination, but critics argue against the safety of it, saying it can lead to endocrine disruption and more. We learn more about it with Dr. Dan.
Now, we've just completed day 10 of the Sochi Winter Games, and we're counting the days until we can see Kim Yeon-ah defend her title in the women's figure skating event. And while she spent most of her time with her rehearsal, the drawings were out for the short program. While the 17-year-old Koreans were drawn early, with Park So-yeon going second in Group 1 and Kim Hae-jin going fifth in Group 2, the figure queen Kim Yeon-ah was drawn in the middle as she's set to go fifth in Group 3. This puts pressure on her rivals Yulia Nipnishkaya and Mao Asada, who's set to go first in Group 5 and very last, respectively. Meanwhile, Kim Yeon-ah's short program is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, 9:24 p.m. Sochi time or Thursday, 2:24 a.m. Seoul time. While the nation had high expectations for the South Korean bobsleigh team, they fell short in the two-man bobsleigh event, with South Korea's Won Yun-jung and Seo Young-woo's combined time after 4 races at 3 minutes 49.27 seconds. It was good for 18th overall as Russia claims the gold medal in the event, as Alexei Voivoda and Alexander Zubkov finished with a combined time of 3 minutes 45.39 seconds. Meanwhile, Switzerland and the United States finished second and third, respectively. Well, things didn't turn out the way that many expected for Team Korea during the Sochi Winter Games, but they still have a chance at adding a few more medals. And speaking of which, a couple of chances on day 11 of the Sochi Winter Games. Now, first off, while Lee Sang-hwa lived up to her expectation and claimed the 500-meter women's speed skating gold, things didn't turn out the way everyone expected for the men's side, as Mo Tae-bum and Lee Seung-hoon failed to win any medals. But Lee Seung-hoon has a shot at a medal during the men's 10,000-meter event on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the South Korean women's short track team will look to add a gold medal, as they're the favorites going into the 3,000-meter relay final, set to take place later on the day as well. And moving on, let's take a look at the current medal count after 10 days of competition in Sochi. Of course, taking a look at the chart here, we see that Germany is still on top with 8 gold medals, but the other nations are catching up, including Russia, who jumped up to second with 5 gold medals, with the Netherlands in third and the United States moving up to fourth. Meanwhile, Korea is still looking to add more medals as they sit in 17th place with 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. Now, we all know that when it comes to the Winter Games, everyone talks about the medals this, medal that, but at the same time, there's the sports science behind all of this. So we'll delve into the hidden science behind the Winter Games. Let's take a look.
The Sochi Winter Olympics is in full swing with people around the globe cheering on. We look at the hidden science behind the games. Curling is dubbed chess on the ice, and with the Korean women's national team competing in the Olympics for the first time, they are receiving a lot of attention and support. The key to curling is the sweeping move. Before a curling match, water is sprayed on the icy surface to create tiny ice particles. Once the game begins, sweeping the ice clears these particles and reduces friction to allow the stone to slide more easily. Depending on how you sweep, you can adjust both the speed and direction of the stone.
Since last year, the Korea Institute of Sports Science has been providing a long-term sports science assistance program.
By analyzing the center of weight in their feet, checking the change in temperatures on the surface through thermal cameras, and studying the pitch through motion capturing to bring out the best moves, many scientific methods were used to train the athletes. It's not only curling but also the sled sports that benefited from cutting-edge technology and training. The bobsleigh team, through analysis and systematic training, was able to cut back on its start time.
We use equipment to measure how athletes come out of the starting point, what kind of posture and power they possess. And with this, we've been able to reduce records by 0.3 seconds.
Science is also hidden in some of Korea's favorite winter sports, such as short track and speed skating, especially in their skates. Short track skates have short blades slanted towards the left. This is to reduce centrifugal force when turning corners, since 80% of the track is curved. There are also clap skates, where the back of the blade is detached from the skating boot. This gives the blade more contact with the icy surface and helps increase speed.
Because the blade itself clings to the ice surface for a longer time, the friction creates a liquid film, which brings out stronger momentum.
Ski jumping is a battle between so-called human birds. These athletes fly at least 100 meters with each jump. What allows this is the V-shaped posture they use when in the air.
Rather than placing the skis parallel to each other, a V-shape creates a greater area for the wind, so it is said to bring out the stronger lift-off.
The most effective V-style is created when the athlete lifts the front part of the skis by roughly 20 to 30 degrees, while maintaining roughly 20 degrees between their legs and the skis.
You can almost say that the results of the Winter Games is determined by the science behind the equipment. As the years go by, gear that better takes into consideration the nature of each sport will be developed.
With the merging of cutting-edge science and technology, the Winter Olympics have become a more heated stage of competition, and knowing the science behind it can add to the fun when watching the games.
And to tell us more, we are joined in the studio by Dr. Jung Jin-wook of Korea Institute of Sports Science. Hello.
Hello.
Now, when it comes to the Winter Games, obviously a lot of people talk about the medal count, right? Who won the gold medal, who won the silver medal, and the bronze. But at the same time, there is this fascination for sports science, especially in the Winter Games. Tell us why.
Well, actually, usually in our institute, we have about like 17 doctors supporting national teams in different events. And then usually the winter sports, we need like more scientific support than compared to the Summer Olympics. That's why I think they are interested in sports science.
You know, obviously your institute did so much for the athletes when it comes to the preparation for the Sochi Winter Games. But tell us how you were able to help these athletes prepare for the Sochi Winter Games.
Well, actually, we are the only national sports science research institute in Korea, and we have about like 17 doctors, and we have 4 different systems supporting national teams. And one is like exercise physiology and training part, and the other is like mental training, psychological preparation, and then biomechanics, like motion analysis, and the engineering part. So in the Sochi Olympics, we delivered the physical fitness test for snow event, and then we support that by researching the temperature of the ice for curling team, and then the device, the equipment for the bobsleigh team for check the starting speed.
You know, there's so much stuff that goes into sports science, but I think one of the things that a lot of people do focus on are the uniforms. For example, Team USA actually recently blamed their uniform for their performance in the speed skating event with Shani David. So tell us about some of these, I guess, cutting-edge technology, as we say, in these uniforms.
Well, actually, because the uniform and gear is important because to reduce the air resistance. So most of the uniforms of the Winter Olympic Games, you can think of how tight it is. How tight is the key to reduce the air resistance, but the ski jump, which is wide, because they use the air resistance to fly higher, fly longer.
So it's not all just tight uniforms. Actually, you're talking about these ski jumps, and they actually have a wider. It's like a sugar glider, for example. They're trying to fly higher. So I guess there's different kind of uniforms then.
Yeah, because it depends on the events. The different uniform is the key because how whether there's a speed game or whether there's like aerial, like how to fly higher, it's all different.
So let's talk about another, I guess, event that we were kind of focused on, and especially the South Korean bobsleigh team, right? We had so much expectations for the team. They did cut their starting time, and it was great. But at the same time, of course, I talked about it earlier, they did finish 18th overall, and it wasn't the kind of, I guess, final time that we were looking for. But we still have 4 more years until the Pyeongchang Winter Games. What are some of the things that they do need to improve on, I guess, 4 years later on?
Well, actually, in case of bobsleigh, not only the skill, but the sleigh is important. But when you think about the cars and monies, if you have much money, you can buy the better car.
Right.
So we actually need more fund to buy the sleigh. But once you get the good car, good sleigh, you need to develop the training program to adjust the sleigh.
That's kind of interesting because I feel like a lot of the people who are just recently following up on bobsledding, all the sleighs actually look the same in their, I guess, perspective. But you're saying that all these cars, all these sleighs are actually different, and we basically need more funding in order to get a faster time.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll look into this one. But at the same time, when it comes to bobsleigh, we saw that Russia was able to win a gold medal in the 2-men bobsleigh event because maybe they have more funding. But Korea overall, when it comes to sports science, we don't have a long history compared to, for example, Team USA or Canada. But I guess overall, when it comes to sports science and these cutting-edge technologies for Korea, where does Korea actually stand in the field?
Well, actually, especially for winter sports, it's very just beginning because we don't have much data. So we have to develop the standard, which is good for this event of athletes or not. So maybe again, we need fund first to develop the long-term sports scientific supporting program. But after that, we have to accumulate the data to make a standard in terms of sports scientific support.
Right.
And then we have to educate them that they need this for scientific support. So
I think you make a very good point here because it's not just about how tight the uniforms are, how much technology is involved in these uniforms, but there are other things that are involved. For example, you mentioned the funding and also the education aspect as well. And what's great about this is now we're, believe it or not, 4 years away from the Pyeongchang Winter Games. And I guess we're always rooting for the athletes, but now we have to root for your institute as well to help the athletes. But you know what? These are all great. I just learned a lot about the education aspect of the technology. Thank you very much once again, Doctor, for your insight.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, once again, that was Dr. Chung Jin-ok of the Korea Institute of Sports Science. And before I do say goodbye, guess what? We have our Arirang's sports correspondent Song Ji-sun live at Sochi. So over to you, Ji-sun.
Hello guys, I'm reporting Sochi Media Center at downtown Sochi, where you can also watch ongoing games as you can see behind me on the screen. And the fans can also enjoy the games as they can watch ongoing games anywhere across the city in Sochi and Adler. Take a look at how the fans can enjoy the games even after leaving the Olympic Park. Practically everyone walking around Sochi is decked out in Olympics merchandise or their team uniform, and those who aren't are lined up at shops.
I waited to buy some clothes during 50 minutes. It's cool, I think.
And even if you weren't lucky enough to get a ticket to the games, you can still be part of the Olympic excitement. Here at downtown Sochi, the Olympic vibe is alive, both among domestic and foreign fans who have gathered here for the Olympics. You can buy souvenirs, watch ongoing games, and cheer for your favorite athletes here at one of the live sites across the city. With tickets harder to get each day, the sites have become a place for all to join. Despite early reports that Sochi wasn't fully prepared for the games, fans are enjoying every moment, and avid Olympic fans who have been following the Winter Olympics even before the Sochi Games are already looking ahead to 2018
when the global event will be held in Pyeongchang.
So far, everything has been fantastic. The volunteers have been really helpful whenever we're getting lost, and everything's been really well organized. And
so we went to Vancouver in 2010. We've been here, and now 2018 we're planning to go to see the next set of games.
To these fans, the only pity is that the Olympics last for just a little over 2 weeks, and another wait of 4 years is right around the corner, just as it is for the athletes.
Don't you wish we're in Sochi,
To
right?
see all the festivities and the events that are going on, Jisun gets to have all the fun.
But we're right here in Seoul, and Dami's going to take us to the Seoul Forest this time.
That's right, from the Lost Garden to the Garden of Light. Tommy?
So I'm back reporting live from an Experience Media Art Exhibition Hall where the exhibition called 빛의 장원, or Garden of Light, is taking place. Now, for the past 4 years in Japan, throughout 23 different exhibition halls, there was an exhibition called the Museum of Magic, received quite the spotlight as there were about 700,000 visitors. Now, there are about 20 pieces from those shows that were chosen to be put on display here at the Media Art Exhibition called the Garden of Light. So here at the exhibition, you can find works from 12 representative media art artists from Japan. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look. Right now, what we're looking at is an art called Playing with Shine, and they say that the secret lies beneath. So if you take a look, there are these Technicolor marbles, and if I push it with my hand, it disperses, and then it kind of comes back and joins again in the middle. So it's a lot of fun. And they say that this artwork itself is actually displayed at the Charles de Gaulle Airport in France as well. Now, if you take a look from the outside, it does look like lanterns that are made out of cloth. Now, this second artwork that we're looking at is called Sound Round. It looks just like a normal table, right? But once I put my hand above the table, hear that music? So how it works is there's a system that reads the shadows, and it kind of triggers it to play music. Next up is On the Fly Paper. And why it's fly paper is because if we take this piece, it looks like a normal, ordinary piece of paper with some sort of robot-looking drawing. But if we place it on top of this cube right here, so the robot kind of moves, and if we press some of the holes, the background changes, and you can look at it in more depth and have more fun with it. So it's just, this exhibition itself is just something that both children and adults can have so much fun. And I think it's great because the exhibition made it more approachable for everyone of all ages because they can experience it for themselves. So this is your look at the Garden of Light. It will be going on until March 2nd. So don't miss out on this opportunity. That's all I have now. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
It is found in a wide range of products such as ketchup, mayonnaise, and other sauces, not to mention toothpaste, mouthwash, cosmetics, and wet napkins. This substance is known as paraben.
Paraben is used a lot in makeup and acts like a preservative to prevent bacterial growth. However, it is believed to be bad for your health if exposed to in large quantities.
Parabens are weak estrogen mimics and are known to be potential endocrine disruptors. An experiment conducted by a Korean university announced a study on the dangers of paraben, showing that fire-bellied toad eggs underwent mutations when grown in paraben-diluted water.
In high concentration levels, we found various toxic and endocrine disrupting elements. People will not likely be exposed to such high concentration levels, but it's hard for us to say that it will not cause side effects if exposed to it in lower doses over a long period of time.
What has people concerned is that this substance has been discovered in most urine samples of children and teenagers. According to those between the age of 3 and 18, most had at least one form of paraben out of the 4 types in their samples taken. And especially for those who brush their teeth more often, they came out with higher concentration levels in their tests.
For boys, it can result in underdevelopment and sexual maturity, and conversely for girls, it can cause precocious sexual development, shutting down the growth plates by disrupting hormones and deterring further growth.
Paraben does not only affect children as they're growing up, it can also cause problems for many women who wear makeup every day. For those who wear makeup, paraben can irritate the skin and cause it to become red, or in severe cases, it can even break out into blisters.
The paraben found in most cosmetics will not cause skin allergies. But if you do find yourself having an allergic reaction to it, you should consult a dermatologist and use paraben-free products.
Not only that, a study published in the UK indicates that 20 breast tumors from breast cancer patients who received mastectomies were all found to have paraben in them.
If the body is continually exposed to paraben, it accumulates in the body and can potentially lead to various types of cancer.
Being aware of what kind of substances are included in daily products that you use is a good habit to get into.
I really didn't realize paraben was so widely used in so many products. So we have Dr. Alice Hyung-dan joining us in the studio to tell us more about paraben. Now, the thing with paraben is that it seems like once it enters the body, it doesn't exit easily. Then that's a bit of an issue.
Well, the absorption of the parabens really depends on the type of paraben and also the route of exposure. So after a paraben is ingested, it's actually rapidly absorbed, metabolized in the liver, and then excreted fairly quickly through the urine. It's eliminated from the body through the urine. After a paraben is applied on the skin, there can be a small amount that penetrates deeply enough such that it enters the bloodstream. Now, the concerns were raised in 2004, as we saw in the video, after research found that paraben was found in breast cancer tissue. So how did the paraben get there? Or is there a cause and effect relationship between parabens and breast cancer? More and more questions are being raised regarding the health effects of parabens these days.
So the absorption rate as well as how it enters the body, the paraben, it's a bit questionable, but how is it regulated in Korea as a whole?
Right, so in 2009, only methyl and ethyl parabens are now allowed to be used in food and beverage products. In 2006, the regulations were revised to match those used in the EU regarding the use of parabens in cosmetics. So now the limit is 0.4% for any individual paraben used in cosmetics, and the total paraben amount is limited to 0.8%. In the EU, the Scientific Committee for Consumer Safety actually has recommended a lower limit of paraben content for certain more highly absorbed parabens. So propyl paraben and also butyl paraben, they are the more highly absorbed ones, and they set a limit of 0.19%. Also in Denmark in 2011, the government actually banned the use of certain parabens in personal care products intended for children less than age 3. So there are concerns.
I see. So while the debate continues, if you want to avoid this substance, you can choose to go with paraben-free products, right?
Right. But the question is whether there's actually a health benefit, to using paraben-free products. First of all, they're hard to come by. Secondly, without preservatives, cosmetics are prone to being contaminated with bacteria and fungus. That's not a good thing either, right? And so the jury's still out on whether or not parabens actually pose a significant health risk. I would recommend using precaution, especially for the more highly absorbed parabens, so propyl paraben and butyl paraben. Try to read the labels and limit the amount of exposure of those.
All right, so knowing your parabens is very important. Limiting exposure, you just mentioned it right there. That seems to be the key, especially on children, right? I mean, it's okay. We're pretty tough. We're rough and rugged. We can use any lotion. But children under the age of 3, children, toddlers, I mean, how do you minimize the exposure for them?
Seems like sunscreens have paraben in them, too.
Exactly.
So everything, we could just basically assume that everything has a little bit of it.
A lot of parabens are in use. So first of all, read the labels. All personal care products, all cosmetics are required to list their ingredients. So you as a consumer can choose what you use. Also, sunscreen, as you just mentioned, contains paraben. So when you're outdoors, use alternatives. Stay in the shade, use a wide brim hat. Or, you know, for kids, they have the protective UV swimwear, the long sleeves and the long pants. And so those are alternatives as well. Also, there are certain companies that manufacture high-tech packaging such that parabens are not necessary.
Okay, so it preserves it.
Right, so you can keep your eyes open for those specific products.
All right, well, sounds great. I think you just summed it up right there. The doctor's orders is choose what you use.
And read the labels, really. I pay more attention to the labels now that I know that paraben can be harmful in the long run. Who knows, right? Well, the research is still ongoing, so we'll have to wait and see.
Exactly.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you,
for joining
doctor,
us.
for your time. All right, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And enjoy your Tuesday. We will see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.